Welcome to Modcast number 20. I'm Gordo. That's Gary. And we have some very special guests today. Bud Kasper and his son, Matt Kasper, out of Lee's Summit, Missouri, the greater Kansas City area. Hey, guys, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks.
Thanks
Good to see you guys.
Yeah. So, hey, we'll get kicked off here in just a minute, but this is episode number 20, the Father-Son Partnership at Lee's Summit, Modern Wealth Management. And we're going to talk all things Kasper family as we get into this show. Gary, how are you?
I'm great. Good to see all of you. It's fun to have Bud and Matt on the show. So looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah. They were actually very early at Modern. They joined on April 22nd, 2023 with Dean Barber and Ken Oswala as the trio, the first trio of offices to join the firm. So not only are these a dynamic father-son duo, but they're also entrepreneurs, and they decided to jump in with some entrepreneurs and build this thing called Modern Wealth Management. Wouldn't have happened without them.
Yeah, that was the genesis. It was a very interesting several weeks as you were interviewing us, we were interviewing you. But now that we have 3 years under our belts, I will tell you, it's probably been the best decision I have ever had in my career.
Oh, that's awesome, and very kind of you to say that, Bud. Thanks so much, Matt. Hopefully, you feel the same. You've had a big career opportunity here. I hope you feel that way anyway.
I do. I'm continuing to learn. I think that's what been one of the blessings with Modern Wealth Management is, I thought I knew quite a bit even prior to, and then all of a sudden, it's amazing how many more doors have been opened up, and how I just see myself, my role, everything expanding in the right direction.
That's awesome. We're going to get into all that in today's episode. Gary, we've got a father-son duo here who've been quite successful on their own. Bud, as he was sharing with us as we're getting set up, is like one of the original CFPs, as the youth would say, an OG.
An OG, yeah.
Yeah, an OG. I always thought that was original gangster. That's what the kids told me they were saying when they called me an OG. Yeah, now I realize it's just an old guy. But,
yeah, it could be either. I think we won't comment on which one it is, but
all right, thanks.
Well, for me, I know they're calling me an old guy when they call me the OG, the kids. Yeah. And then we have Matt. So, Gary, I'm going to throw it to you.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Bud, you do not act like an old guy. So you've got some of the most energy of anyone I've ever worked with. But let's just start with sort of how it came to be that, maybe a little bit of background of how you started your own business, and then how and when Matt came into the business. It's not unusual for there to be father-son teams in the wealth management industry, but every story is unique. So let's hear a little bit about your guys' story.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, I can go back to 1983. Do you believe I'm saying that? And I was with a company at the time called Payne Weber. So one of the largest brokerage firms coming out of New York City, if you will. Always was fascinated with the business. I was introduced by a friend of mine. He says, you need to come down here and talk to these folks. Long story short, joined them. It was a good relationship, but remember back then it was all commission-based business, and there are times that in that structure, that I felt very uncomfortable. And so as time would go by, just to make a long story short, I decided to go independent. So I went out with a firm that was supposedly independent. They didn't have anybody that really worked much in the equity space. And so that lasted about a year and a half. And at that time, I made the comment to myself, I said, I don't need these people. I'm going out on my own. Now, I'll tell you, that was a scary situation, because all of a sudden, all the things that were supporting you in the background are no longer there. But it was the best thing I ever do. It was so liberating. It was so wonderful to make sure that our clients now understood, because now we're fee-based, understood how we were paid. And it allowed us to go in there and get very intimate with our clients in terms of what their real needs are, what their concerns are. And so that has evolved over time, to where we are today. And it's been an incredible journey.
And Bud, sorry, what year was this that you made the The leap from the commission old school way of doing it to the new way of doing it?
1983 was when I joined Payne Weber, and it was 2.5 years after that I went to a regional firm that didn't last long with that. But then coming out of that, I've been independent for a long period of time and knew that I needed to get the designations to be able to confirm with our clients that we really do have an area of expertise that they need. And that's how we built the practice.
That's great. Yeah, that was fantastic.
And I think that, I mean, you definitely were on the cutting edge.
The very early side. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's really interesting. Like your path sort of traces how the industry has evolved in a lot of ways.
Well,
I got into the business in 2000, and I was told then the future is fee-based. It's fiduciary, right? And that was a good 15 years after you had already done it. So I was being told that's where the edge is, the future is.
Yeah. And after that, then being a CFP and everything, I was elected and ended up being chairman of the Financial Planning Association in Greater Kansas City. And the connections that we had with that, more and more firms were starting to do what we initiated at the time that we do, being independent, et cetera. And it just continued to grow from there. The CFP name, you see it on TV, all the time. So we've really done a good job, I think, of relating to our consumers, our customers, if you will, and making sure that we're well-rounded. And I'll tell you, there's no one that does a better job at that. And I say that with all modesty, than my son, Matt.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Well, the one thing I can say with Dad is, because you can imagine I've sat on the same side of the table with him for many, many, many years with serving the clients that we are fortunate enough to serve. But going back to what he was talking about, when he made that big transition, that big sacrifice to go independent for all the right reasons, something that always stood out to me, and he would share this with clients or someone that was learning about us for the first time. It's like, I needed to sit on the same side of the table as my client. And that was that movement. And Dad really was, I wasn't even in college yet. And so this was his revolution at that time, and something that he was very motivated by. And he truly was. He was ahead of where the industry was. That industry eventually caught up. But at the same time, that was something I'm, learning, looking back, proud of what he's been able to do and, the risk and the challenges he took on.
Absolutely. So Matt, at what point did you always know you wanted to be in the business, or at what point did you start thinking about joining up with Bud?
I wish I had some magical story about, how, lessons of Warren Buffett or something was intriguing and got me into the business. But to be honest, it was a job that, fortunately, there was a door open, and he was kind enough to take me in, as well as my two older brothers who actually were in the practice prior to me. So it was even easier and more exciting for me to come and truly join a family practice that, of course, he ignited for all of us and welcomed all of us when he didn't have to. And you can imagine when you're a small business and just getting started, that's taken on even more commitment than he maybe even knew what he was taking on at the time. But it was something that was very special for us to not only work as father-son, but also to have brothers and other family members kind of all built inside of the same office here. And, what was kind of funny at the time as well was when I came into the practice, Dad had just moved to the new office, and this new office had just one big office space. And my brothers and I each had a desk against each one of the walls there. So ultimately, our lunches were met right in the middle, where we had just a fold-out table that we would have our lunches in. And of course, we're just all kind of confined inside of this single office. But it was a really good time. It was a great way to quickly kind of learn the business and collaborate just collectively right there. And obviously learning from Dad the whole time along the way. So it was definitely a special early time in my career.
Matt came to me one day and he looked at his brothers and me, and he says, "Is there any room for me?"
Yeah.
And I said, "There's room." And later on, my older sons, they carved off a business on their own that is related to what we do. And that pushed Matt and I side by side with each other and committing ourselves to financial planning and the objective of giving our clients the best opportunity for success.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. So I come from a family background where my grandfather was in business. My uncle was in business with my grandfather. I worked in the business as a high school student. And every dinner, every backyard barbecue, every holiday, every, all that we ever talked about was the business, right? It was,
Right.
that was it. And if you weren't in the business and you were in the family, all you heard about was the business, right? And how do you separate working with your dad? I'm asking Matt,
Sure.
and then being with your dad, because I think one is your leader in the office when you first get into the business, and then the other is, this is my dad. This is who I get advice from. This is who I go to and have dinner with, and this is. How do you keep that son-dad relationship going?
Yeah.
Or has that been a challenge for you all? I don't know.
I think it's fair to say it is kind of a challenge because ultimately, we're so integrated into what we do, and that's a big part of who we are and so forth. And I think we're both very guilty of talking about business maybe in those extended hours than we should. But at the same time, we have a good way of, as a family, just kind of breaking away and still prioritizing family and making sure that we're not utilizing, that challenge as being too big of a hurdle for us to just sit back, relax, and still be father, son, and then obviously expand it out to the rest of the family as well. So yes, I say it's a challenge, but at the same time, once, we get out of our element, it's really easy for us just to be father and son.
Yeah, and let me add to the complexity of all this that my youngest son, graduated a year ago from the University of Arkansas. I might add, cum laude, in business, and he is now in the firm. So with that in play, what Matt and I had as a relationship is now my son Jack's relationship with Matt. So
Right.
He's there to support him in any way that he can. And that's a great way for a person to break into the business. Just be the grunt, go do whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
It's asked of you, learn about what the experience is, and then embrace it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, Bud, let me ask you this question. That was great. So you have this firm, right? And you'd had the firm for a long time, 40 years, somewhere in there.
Mhm.
And Matt's in the business, and he's a younger guy, and has a CFP. He's got the chops, and then we come along. What was the dream on your own with Matt, and then your youngest son joining eventually? You knew that was going to happen, but what was the like? This is going to be a better outcome for the family and Matt if I move to Modern, or walk us through that thought track, if you would.
Well, having worked for different firms and understanding the structure associated with that, and even though I share with you that I've been doing this for 43 years, there's not going to be past 45 years. I can guarantee you that.
Is that an announcement?
Some of your advice, Gordo,
Matt, is that an announcement?
We are structuring, our lives. I'm talking about my wife and I, so that we have more and more time with each other. And of course, that should be the reward for
absolutely
all the time that you put together with it. But honestly, the excitement that came from Modern's introduction and the offer that eventually came out of that was something that was enterprising from the perspective of it's new. You have people that are in the same thought of the mind in terms of, we can get together with a bunch of other people that have knowledge that we don't have, and that'll only improve our practices because now we can share. And that has really worked out wonderfully over the last 3 years with the other members of Modern. And it really puts Modern in a position of saying, we get it. We can help you. You can be part of this. And part of it is I think where the best definition is.
Yeah. So for Matt's career and future, right? I'm sure, Matt, you thought, hey, at some point, I'm gonna buy this business from my dad, or I'm gonna, this is going to be mine, and I'm gonna be the caretaker for the next 25, 30 years until the next person in line wants to saddle up and take over. What were your thoughts when the announcement was made at the dinner table or the conference room? Hey, we're going to do this. Take me through your mind.
Yeah, that's a really difficult question, because you kind of sit there and think this is a succession path is kind of the natural path. And I think you all kind of internalize that as, the way that means success is that dad hands down the practice to me because, I earned my way to that position. Well, the reality is I still have that succession. It's just transformed into this bigger structure that, I will be completely honest. I had to take time and try to understand it and know exactly who we were becoming partners with and start to see those advantages. But I will say, I see those advantages, and we still have the opportunity to do that natural succession. It just comes with a different formula. And that's ultimately what I'm looking forward to, and what's still giving me the same opportunities that I'm sure dad once saw for me as well.
Exactly.
So, the story you've told, whether it's, family or if it's not family, we're in an industry in general that is going to be, by necessity going through sort of a generational shift over the next 5 to 10 years. The average advisor in the US, there's quite a few who are going to be looking to retire in the next 5 or 10 years. So you've been talking about sort of how you're managing relationships and introducing, the next generation of leadership into the firm. What advice would you give to other advisors, teams out there, in the whole industry, not just our company, whether or not it's, father, son, father, daughter, just in general, in terms of thinking about the client relationships and how to introduce new people into those relationships? You've initiated client relationships, and now you're bringing in Matt or whoever. Like you're sort of transferring that trust or having someone earn that trust. So maybe just to re-rack it. How do you think about bringing new advisors into the client setting and helping the clients and those new advisors get comfortable with one another?
Well, we did that. We actually hired another person, became a CFP. He and Matt actually went to high school together. Came from a different university, came over, asked politely if he could have an interview so that he might be able to join in. And I'm going to tag you, Matt, so you can kind of say how you led him into the firm. And by the way, it's turned out to be a wonderful experience. So we're very fortunate. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, even when we're sitting here, I know Dad was kind of talking about Jack, someone just fresh out of high school or coming out of school, and then ultimately coming into this type of experience. I think I'm going to take a step back just because I have to. At the end of the day, the only way I have value is if I'm sitting across from that client and I'm giving them the service they deserve, and I'm giving them the honesty, the integrity, everything that we say that we do, I'm delivering that. And that took a lot of time to develop the skills. And quite honestly, with modern, I'm learning that there's still skills that I have a deficit in that I'm trying to continue to be better. And I think what's even what I love about, where I'm identifying those deficits is the fact that, I don't have to be everything. I have a good teammate or a good partner. If it's something with tax, and I can go to Marty James. If it's something with investments, and I can go to Tuck. If it's something, that's going to be, on a retirement plan. I mean, Michelle Cannon just has brought so much value and so much depth of knowledge that, quite honestly, I'm not going to have all of that, but I have those teammates. So by incorporating those partners, those teammates, that type of reality, it is so much better for me to be able to now take and I say now, it's better as us as modern to be able to help someone fresh out of college or somebody that's coming into the business and have the the runway to be able to get the proper education, the proper experience. That way, when they're sitting across from that client, that they too are giving them the value that we say we can deliver. And we have to, I mean, that's where the passion comes in. If you don't have the passion, then quite honestly, we don't have the right person sitting across from that client, because they have to care about that client, day in and day out, and make sure that they're doing the job for that client day in, day out, and know what that training looks like, know what that sacrifice looks like. And I think we have a system in place that can take you from any level, and we have a great way of elevating you to the next level and to the next level. Because and I look at I know we were talking about Jack, we're also talking about Josh, another CFP, and how do we keep elevating ourselves to become more relevant, or to fill that role that we want to hit. So I think that's what's so cool about what we have with Modern, and with what we've done internally as well. I mean, it's we're all working on it.
That's
The
awesome.
experience that I would share with observing Matt is that his hunger for financial planning is beyond belief. And I'm not exaggerating with that. What he has learned, he has really become the expert. I'm in the background anymore for the simple reason that he can outplan me easily. But now that Josh has come in, he's in all the meetings, he's learning, and I have all the confidence in him as much as I have with Matt, and hopefully Jack will have the same experience, and then who knows what happens after that. But it's all built on each other for the right reason. That is, we have to do the best thing possible for our clients, and there's so many clients out there, not necessarily ours, that aren't getting the type of service that we're able to deliver, that are missing out on incredible opportunities, not only financial, but also in the planning process itself.
And that's really, I like what Matt, just to kind of recap, you're basically saying, because you're at Modern, you have a brain trust that you can tap into that elevates you as the advisor in the client's eye, because you're bringing all these expert resources to rally around their particular thing, right? And that's really giving you an operational advantage of an advisor, when you can tap into the Michelles and the Tucks and the all the people around the firm to solve a client situation.
100%. That's something that's truly unique about what we do, and quite honestly, that this is circling back to one of the previous questions. I would have thought, could I have been dead succession without Modern Wealth Management? Possibly, but could I have done it to the level of what Modern Wealth Management has brought to the equation? No, I don't believe so.
Yeah. Hey, I want to shift gears just really, because I was there, I witnessed it. It was awesome. And that is, we ran a next generation leadership program. We called it G2, but really it's about next generation leadership. And Matt, congratulations. You were recently promoted to a managing director. And that was important to Bud. And it was important to Gary and I and Mike and Del Cole that you received that promotion. I mean, you earned it. It wasn't given, it was earned. And I think you've proven to be an exceptional individual, an exceptional human being, a phenomenal planner, as your dad's highlighted, just a great person to be around, and somebody, the type of person, the caliber of person we want in our organization. So you get to participate in this next generation leadership program as part of this promotion to managing director. And you had 20 other members of the firm in that class. And we all got together in Scottsdale recently, and we celebrated your graduation after a 6-month program. Talk to us, just give me 30 seconds, 45 seconds on that program, and then I have a follow-up.
Yeah, the program, I'll say right out of the gate, so it was a little bit of a question mark as to, what's going to be this contributable value to the program, because, we're all busy and here's these additional meetings popping up on the screen. I will say, once we especially got to Arizona, we got to finally be around each other. That connectivity was, number one, what was the greatest value. And it was really significant to see different individuals at different roles and different responsibilities across different offices. And what's crazy is I most likely would have never had the opportunity to visit with any of them. Whether it was on a professional or personal level, I probably wouldn't have ever had that experience without this G2 type of leadership program. So that's quite honestly what I was really taken away from. And that was something where it was great to be able to meet more people, know that we can actually reach out to them as well, and understand that they're going through the same trials, tribulations that we're all going through. So why do we not build each other up and help each other out when we can? And every single person that I met, everyone has an open door. I mean, they really do. So a lot of great people within the organization that we can build on and build stronger relationships through.
Yeah. So, but I got to watch Matt's origin story, and and it was fantastic. And I gave my origin story as the kickoff to the event, and then I was blown away by the 3 additional stories that were shared, Matt's being one of them. And Matt learned a lesson from, and I don't know, is it Bud's brother or who's this uncle?
It was my great uncle, so Dad's uncle.
Okay, Dad. Okay, Bud's uncle.
Uncle John.
Uncle John. And Matt shared Uncle John's 3 words to live by. And so, Matt, why don't you share what those 3 words were?
Well, Dad knows it all too well as well. But yeah, truth, wisdom, and poetry.
Truth, wisdom, and poetry. And that really
come out of his mouth.
Yeah. And truth. So I love what you said. Truth as a financial advisor, that's our job.
Right.
We got to tell the truth. Right. So why don't you talk about wisdom and poetry?
Yeah. So after that truth fact, the wisdom side is kind of like what we were talking about previously, having those team members that can come in and truly be the experts, to truly provide that wisdom that our clients are seeking, to make sure that they're getting the best answers, to be able to have the most confident retirement that they can have. So having that element of wisdom is so incredibly important. And then, of course, the poetry side, I quite honestly, I think is the most difficult side, because that's where, how do you help a client truly live their one best retirement? And if they can't get to that poetic component of it, if they can't get to what they truly need, not just what the services they want, but what they truly need to be successful in their retirement. And let's face it, that's not just money lasting. That's creating the memories, not missing out, having those opportunities to do what you work so hard for. And I think that's why truth, wisdom, and poetry stood out to me. Now, Dad clearly knows Uncle John even more so than myself, having many more years than I did with him. He always did it in a humorous way, because he was just the man that genuinely wanted to make you smile and laugh. And when he said, "There's nothing but truth, wisdom, and poetry that come out of my mouth," he was doing it very sarcastically, but I couldn't help but relate it back to what we do. It was just something that stood out.
Yeah,
I love it.
He stood out because he was only 6'5", 250 pounds, so you did pay attention. Just to add one more thing, because I'm having so much fun with this, and thank you for inviting us into your Modcast.
Of course.
But our back office, is so important to the success that we have. And with my wife, Peggy, and the other ladies that are helping us back there, they're the ones that keep everything flowing on schedule so that Matt and I and Josh and eventually Jack can do. So just,
you mean they're the ones that make you guys look good?
That's a good way of putting it, Gordo.
They're the promise keepers.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Hey, Gare.
But and I will also say, we also appreciate you guys picking us. I know you picked us because we're better looking than the Johnsons, and trying to think we have almost as much hair as Marty and Kyle. So I feel like we were a good selection for it.
That's great. What for those of you watching on YouTube, you'll see we're all wearing Modern Wealth swag, as we call it. How have you managed finding space in your dresser drawers or wherever you put your clothes for all of the Modern Wealth gear you guys have gotten? I mean, I imagine that's been one of the biggest challenges since you've joined. I know it is for me. That's why I asked, because I've got stuff like piled up on the floor in my office. So have you guys figured out a way to manage that or
I have to take that one because Gary, having the swag has been the biggest relief in this office because I've been in a shirt and tie since 2005. So
Oh,
I now that I'm permitted to wear swag, that has completely changed
So
my.
your wardrobe was
well,
elevated.
you're welcome. You've been liberated from and did we lose any clients because you weren't wearing a tie?
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah, that's what happens when you have an older father and said, "Hey, if you want somebody to take you seriously, put a tie on." Yes.
Yeah. I was going to ask, do you even remember what you used to wear? But that's great. That's a great transition. So yeah, we've it's an elevation through being more casual.
That's right.
Anything else? Just as we think of some parting words, anything else you would want to share for? We might have other father-son teams out there, whether they're within or without of our company, who listen to this. Anything you'd want to share about sort of what they could do to make it all work as well as it has, because it's worked really incredibly well with you guys being a team and not just being and you bring that family element, but without in any way compromising sort of your level of professionalism. And I think that's a real compliment to both of you. But is there anything you'd say to those fathers or sons or daughters out there who might be sort of in the same boat as you guys?
Yeah, I think the big side I would put out there is ask the questions, because quite honestly, this is the time as you're kind of going through this, trying to see is modern the right path for me. And the only way you truly start to get that confidence is by getting those difficult questions out there and getting the right answers to them. And quite honestly, the first thing I would say is if you're struggling around certain areas and that there's groups like us that you want to reach out to and you want to get the perspective of the shoes that I'm in and the positions I've been transitioning through, please come to me and ask the questions. I would love to give you my honest opinion. I know there's been some of that's been delivered here, but quite honestly, there's a lot more that you want to go through. And I think that's, truly how you get a good handle over the transition and feel confident in what you're moving forward with is by asking the difficult questions and hopefully getting the response that you're looking for.
I'll finish up by saying, seeing what Modern was doing and how they were going to grow. And by the way, the executives of the firm that are leading all this have been sensational. And I'm not trying to just kiss, but with that being said, I'll give you a true story. And that is, I actually give all of our clients, at least the ones that I represent, my cell number. And now I know a lot of people would not do that. I do that for a very simple reason. And that is, if there's something bothering them, then it needs to be in front of me. And I said, I'd rather have you call me. I don't care if it's in the evening. I don't care if it's on the weekend. I will take your call because I believe so strongly in the relationships that we develop with our clients. And I could even go that far that if I needed anything from the firm, I know I can reach out even on the weekends to you guys with questions and answers.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great. And you probably don't get calls that aren't important because people understand like it's the offer itself that has the impact, and they're not going to abuse the privilege, as I like to say it. They're gonna use that
perfectly stated, Gary.
When it's necessary. So, well, that's great. We listen. It's great to have you guys on. It's fun to have guests, and it's great to hear your story. And we're sharing it with as many people as want to listen and click into Modcast number 20.
Yep.
And we're excited for the future for all of you. Bud, you may have made some news, but we know, we still got some time with you here. And Matt, you're doing an amazing job, and it's great having you stepping up into the managing director role and sharing your story with everybody. And your willingness to share is really special. So we appreciate it.
Yeah. I'll tell you, we're proud of that office and you too, and all the work that you're doing. And Matt, I'm going to share with you, we just had our managing director conference, Accelerate, in Scottsdale in February. And for the listener, Matt was up in front of the room and giving some, he was giving a little presentation, and his father, Bud, was at the table, and I looked up, and Bud had his phone recording every word Matt was saying, and he had a big smile and lots of pride, and we're proud to have both of you. So,
thank you.
This is episode 20 of the Modcast. Like it, share it, listen to it on YouTube and Spotify and all your favorite listening devices. Like it, share it, please grow the audience with us. And the next one, number 21, the 3-year anniversary with Mike Capelli, Jason Del Cole, Gary Roth, and myself, Gordo. Until next time, thanks so much.
Please, if you enjoy this, like and subscribe on your favorite podcast app, and go to Modcast.show for more information. And we'll see you on the next Modcast.
Welcome to Modcast number 20. I'm Gary. I'm not Gary. That's Gary. I'm Gordo. We're going to start this over.
The views expressed represent the opinion of Modern Wealth Management, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Information provided is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute investment, tax, or legal advice. Modern Wealth Management does not accept any liability for the use of the information discussed. Consult with a qualified financial, legal, or tax professional prior to taking any action.